Counter-Strike 2, formerly CSGO, has many expensive, shiny, and legendary in-game skins, but none come close to the butterfly knife. There's something mesmerising about flicking it around in-game, and I've always wanted to have a go at it myself, and that's why I decided to use my 3D printing skills to make 3 of them. 1 sapphire, 1 ruby, and 1 emerald. Let me show you how I did it. Here's all the files I need to 3D print. Notice there are lots of different pieces, and they need to be printed in different colours. My printer can only print 1 colour at a time, so I need to identify and separate the black parts from the coloured ones. Here's the knife in game. You can see the blade and the grips carry the gem finish, while the rest of the knife is black. I am doing 3 different butterfly knives, emerald, ruby and sapphire, so I need to find some filament that will mimic these gems well. I already have some transparent green that works well for the emerald, and some transparent blue PETG for the sapphire, but I have to buy some red PLA for the ruby knife. Handle is black on all knives, so I did 3 batches on my super fast printer, which was no problem at all. The green also went really well on my Ender 3 Pro, coming off nice and easy. But I had a lot of problems with the blue. This filament is PETG, which requires hotter temperatures and slower printing. And when I started the print, I had the nozzle too close, fusing the print to the bed, and this turned out to be a big problem. I tried getting a palette knife underneath the prints and scraping them off, temperature cycling by heating them up and putting them in the freezer, but nothing was working, until I tried using dental floss to get underneath and a pen knife to finish the job. The ruby parts went fine after I adjusted the printing height and I had everything I needed. It was time to construct the sapphire, emerald and ruby butterfly knives. If you think this video is interesting, and you would like to see me make more CS2 skins, consider tapping subscribe. I'm so close to reaching my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and it will motivate me to keep going on with these videos. The best part about these butterfly knives is that the file I'm printing is fully 3D printed. No screws, bolts or anything, it clips together with 3D printed pegs just like Lego. Right now I'm making the emerald, and I'm separating the pieces I'm going to need because I have a huge pile of handles which is for all the knives. For each knife I need 4 handles, 4 pegs and 2 spacers. I like to start by laying everything out so I make sure I get it right, since there's some slight differences in each handle and the glue on grips need to be in the right places. Here's me putting some gloves on because this super glue is very strong and the stuff stays on my fingers for ages. One by one I'm gluing the parts on. I'm trying to be really careful and to just get enough glue to stick the parts on effectively without having it all seep out, because this results in white residue around the edge when the glue dries, and I will say I did a great job on the emerald, but yeah, I'm just taking my time. The next bit of gluing is for the blade part. There's a peg that goes through the middle to stop the blade going too far when you're swinging the knife. It was all going to plan, using the super glue to attach the blades, until I realised the hole for the end pegs was too small, and I had to make some small alterations to the models with great care. Now that end pegs can fit into the holes correctly, I can assemble the blade. This involves pushing the pegs into the correct places and then using super glue to hold them in place. Then I can use the pegs as a guide to glue both halves of the blade together, making sure to get some blobs of the glue near the tip of the blade. After that, it was just the assembly left over. I put the pegs in the correct holes on one side of the handle, and then try and push the spacer and the other half on, but it's a really tight fit and it kills your fingers. This is where the scraper comes in handy and just makes your life so much easier, and that's one side done and it's starting to look awesome. Same goes for the other side, pushing the pegs in with the scraper to spread out the pressure a bit and then push the other side on, and just like that you have a cold ass butterfly knife. Except I realised I put too many spacers in and now the knife isn't shut properly, so let me just remove those real quick, and there we go. When I printed these blades I made sure to use 100% infill, but unless you know how to 3D print, this probably means nothing to you. When you 3D print something, it's not actually solid plastic as you might think. As you can see in this time lapse, there's normally a lattice structure inside the print that gives the model strength without using up loads of material and time. This is great for almost everything except for when you're trying to use transparent filament, because you can just see right through and it looks really ugly. Turning this value to 100 means the object is fully solid and it looks much nicer. Here's me constructing the sapphire knife, starting off with the gluing and just being really careful to use just the right amount, and then moving on to gluing the 2 halves of the blade together, and there we go, gluing in the end stops into, and while that's drying I can start pushing the pegs into the handle. This is me examining the green knife so I don't mess up the pegs again, and this is just the usual pushing in the pegs into the right holes, which is all good, and honestly this knife went flawlessly apart from a few delicate adjustments. And there we go. This looks really good. It has a nice flick to it. I love the deep blue colour this filament gives, and the added transparent from the PETG really makes it stand out. There's a few bits of string due to the nature of PETG, but I think it still looks great. The final knife, probably the most exciting one, is the ruby. I began construction as usual, and it was all going great until I made another big mistake. Gluing the pegs used for stopping the blade into the wrong hole, meaning I couldn't attach the handle and the whole thing wouldn't work. No! Unfortunately, this was actually irrecoverable due to the very sticky nature of super glue, so I reprinted collected the parts and tried again, and now construction could resume. I'd already glued the grips on previously, so it was just a matter of assembling the blade and handle. I actually took the opportunity of reprinting the model to alter the blade a bit so I didn't have to go through the usual touch up, and the hole was just about big enough for the end pin to fit in, but as you can see, it wasn't easy. In fact, the fit was so tight that I didn't even use glue. I just let the friction between the end pin and the blade hold itself together. And I will say, this ruby is probably the best butterfly knife I've ever made, apart from the glue marks, which I did my best to clean up. The colour is really bold, and flicking it around is super smooth. It fits in really well in the handle, and just looks awesome with a light behind it. This was actually the first one I assembled. I didn't realise how many marks the glue left, leaving these white patches, so for the other knives, I made sure to wipe the excess glue away. But there we go. Despite the glue marks, this is my favourite knife out of the three, and it has a really sharp feel when you're flicking it around. I'm going to be releasing my website after I hit 1,000 subscribers, where these butterfly knives and many more will be available to you guys. So stay tuned for that. As always, spam me with your favourite CS2 skins, and let me know which is your favourite butterfly knife. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it, and have a good rest of your day.